Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Waldridge,
Present.
Commissioner Thompson,
Present.
Commissioner May,
Present.
Commissioner Unger,
Present.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Present. I'll ask the clerk to please read the comments.
Those. Mr. Bud Dozier, and he has sent an email about a letter that was sent back in January, and it is regarding the request for zoning change for 452 Versailles Road. Once again, would like to voice my opposition to the requested zoning change for 452 Versailles Road from CL to CG. There is an obvious reason that this property has been classified CL for years. It provides a buffer area between the quiet Bon Air Hills residential area and the Kroger commercial complex. I see no compelling reason to eliminate that buffer. As I said before, such a zoning change starts down the slippery slope of removing that buffer. At the November 2020 hearing, I understood Mr. Jones to say that the main reason for requesting the change was to permit a drive-through window at a Dunkin' Donuts establishment at the far side of the property away from Bon Air Hills. A drive-through window is permitted in a CG zone, but not in the current CL zone. Not mentioned was that a CL zoning change would also permit a host of other activities that are currently not permitted in the CR zone. There are many of these, but just a few are commercial motor freight terminals, public transportation, trucking, taxi terminals, metal fabrication facilities, pool, game, bowling, dance parlors, new used motor vehicle sales, funeral homes, and auto repair shops. It was also said that the petitioners for the zoning change thought that a new CR rating was an appropriate zoning for the property. I strongly disagree. It is the Planning Commission's task to decide what zone rating is appropriate for the property. So the petitioners want a CG rating so that they can have a drive-through window. The residents of Bon Air Hills want to keep their buffer to maintain their quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Why not keep the property rating at CL and grant KIP Company a one-time specific exemption for one drive-through window at Dunkin' Donuts, as stated at the last meeting? That way, KIP Company gets its window and Bon Air Hills keeps its buffer with the same zoning that has been in place for years. Sincerely, Bud Dozier. Okay, and this one is also regarding Versailles Road. This is from Mr. David Allen. I'm writing to share my continuing concerns as the owner of the property adjacent to that at 452 Versailles Road. We have lived at 457 McDowell Avenue for the last 30 years and are extremely concerned about development that would threaten the security, privacy, and quiet of the neighborhood. I remain strongly opposed to any change unless there are assurances of a privacy fence between the property and the Bon Air neighborhood, an improved drainage system to alleviate ongoing flooding of the adjacent properties. Such flooding occurs regularly despite a personal investment of thousands into terracing and a French drain on my property, and answers to liability questions about potential damage resulting from demolition and construction. During the last meeting of the commission, the approved motion contained a stipulation that there would be an opportunity for public reaction and input on the final plans as developed. Does the article from the State Journal about the Frankfort City Commission have the final say on rezoning mean that the community will no longer have that expected opportunity for input? Does it mean that the final action will occur on Monday, February 22nd? Be advised that I remain extremely concerned about the lack of public input, as do my neighbors in the Bon Air neighborhood. And he has also attached some previous correspondence, which we have sent on to the board. The letters have been sent on to them. And then also he says that he has corresponded with J.W. Blackburn as a county magistrate, and he is expecting return phone calls or response to his emails. So, Mr. Allen, all these attached letters have been forwarded to the Board of Commissioners. Okay, those are the two that I had for Versailles Road. The remainder of these are going to be regarding the Broadway Bridge. And the first one, I just want to say before I read it, that references to projects not on tonight's agenda have been removed from this letter. And this is from Allison Deppenbrock. And she is writing today as a member of the Frankfort community for 40 plus years and in support of all upcoming projects. The projects I'm speaking of are saving the Broadway Bridge. Looking at the new mayor and city commissioners, I am encouraged for these changing times. We will need the diversity and youthfulness to make the bold changes on the horizon. Our community has not experienced the growth that our surrounding communities have. I feel as though this is a result of being complacent of where we are physically located in the state and being the capital. We need to be hungry for growth and change if we expect to attract new families and professionals. Selfishly, I want my kids to stay around too because they love where they live, eat at their favorite restaurants, get an excellent education, and play in our amazing outdoors. My family owns 2 businesses, has invested many ways financially, and serve on different boards. Many of our guests that patronize our businesses are not from Frankfort. We are proud to show the assets of Frankfort, from restaurants, places to stay, distilleries, parks to hike, breweries, etc. But what if we had more? What if they could have a picnic on the Broadway Bridge? Dreams can come true. Please keep your eyes on the dreams, focus on the positive, and everything will fall into place. Warm regards, Allison Deppenbrock. Okay, the next letter is from the Franklin County Trust for Historic Preservation, and it's actually directly from John Carlton, which is the president. And this is throughout its history, Frankfort has depended heavily on the Kentucky River for its development, and being nearly surrounded by water, its bridges were therefore invaluable to its success. Our local collection of bridges, the Schweitzer Covered Bridge and the 5 metal historic truss bridges being most notable among them, all share rich legacies and are important to Frankfort's history. Today, the bridges that remain individually and collectively stand as shining examples of historic feats of engineering and architecture. Our community, and yes, the Commonwealth, should all be proud of this heritage and strive to preserve what we have left for current and future generations. The historic significance of the bridges, in that the county has 5 historic metal truss bridges still standing, 4 within very dense locations of downtown Frankfort, makes Franklin County of significant interest to historic bridge hunters worldwide. Recently, in January 2021, Frankfort won 2 national awards and 1 international award by the Bridge Hunters Chronicles, a Germany-based website, blog, and podcast located at bridgehunterschronicles.wordpress.com, devoted to highlighting historic bridges around the globe. Among the awards received, which were announced in late January, were Best Bridge Photo for a photo of the Singing Bridge, Best Kept Secret, also for the Singing Bridge, and Best Tour Guide USA for the country's 5 historic subsequently since. Earlier in December 2020, the web hosts thought our collection of bridges noteworthy enough to create its own virtual bridge tour page about our 5 metal truss bridges, highlighting the history and distinct qualities of each. Another website devoted to historic bridges, www.historicbridges.org, has rated Frankfort's bridges on a scale from 0 to 10 regarding local and national significance. Its ratings are as follows. The bridge, the Benson County Bridge, national rating was 8 out of 10. Local rating is 9 out of 10. The Broadway Bridge pedestrian bridge is national rating 7 out of 10. Local rating 7 out of 10. Broadway Railroad Bridge, national rating is 6 out of 10, local rating 7 out of 10. Red Bridge is national rating 7 out of 10, local rating 7 out of 10. And then Singing Bridge, national rating was 9 out of 10, local rating was 10 out of 10. As is evident by both the national and international acclaim of the awards in the above ratings, note all but one fall in the top third of possible ratings for historic significance. These bridges are important historic, cultural, and economic assets to Frankfort. To remove one would have the deleterious effect of diminishing the significance and potential of the series of bridges as a whole to our community. More than just a collection of historic artifacts, these bridges have historically been, have the potential to remain, and have the ability to continue to enhance life in downtown Frankfort as integral thoroughfares for walking and biking to various otherwise awkwardly connected neighborhoods within the city, and additionally have the potential to bring revenue to our community through heritage tourism, just like our bourbon heritage. A 2020 study by Place Economics on the economic effects of historical preservation found that heritage tourists stay longer, are more likely to spend the night, and spend more money than do other tourists. Obviously, tourists that stay longer and spend money are the kind of tourists we want. Like the Big Four bridges in Louisville and other restored, converted bridges in communities across the U.S., this is an opportunity where we can simultaneously preserve a historic structure, advertise our heritage tourism assets, create a scenic view of and unique connections to the Kentucky River, provide a thoroughfare to surrounding neighborhoods, expand our pedestrian infrastructure, and see financial returns on our investments by creating another special attraction in our city for tourists worldwide. At least 2 separate studies commissioned by the city since 2009 have recognized the significance and potential of the Broadway Bridge to the future of our community, and it has the ability to meet the walking and biking goals of a third. The proposal in the 2018 Downtown Master Plan, for instance, received significant community support. The Trust, along with other local organizations, subsequently commissioned an independent study which determined various ways the bridge might be saved and estimated the cost of those alternatives to be less than the estimates produced by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Palmer Engineering. Finally, opportunities to fund this project have been presented in the form of federal and state grants, public-private partnerships, and other private investment. All of these options should be further explored, but cannot be until the bridge is stabilized and out of danger from the prospect of demolition. We ask that the City Commission to work with the state and federal agencies, our local organizations, business leaders, and the community to find a creative way to support the project and to build on the various commission city plans that have highlighted the bridge as an important asset of our community and history. Respectfully, John H. Carlton, and again, he is president of the Franklin County Trust for Historic Preservation. The next letter is from Robin Antonucci, Executive Director of Frankfort Tourism. And she says, on behalf of the Frankfort Franklin County Tourist and Convention Commission, we wish to express our support and encourage you to prevent the Broadway Bridge from demolition. As one of the consulting party members with the current bridge conversion feasibility study, we are aware of the several alternatives for the future of the bridge that the Kentucky Department of Transportation will soon be considering. We believe that maintaining this river crossing for pedestrians is important asset to tourism and to the community. It will serve as a connecting link to downtown for the communities on the west side of the river. It will also enable visitors to see the river from a unique vantage, as well as provide walking and biking opportunities in the park area near the Whipple Bridge and the Benson Creek area. Further recreational development on the west side of the river in the Benson Creek area may be achieved through access and use of the bridge. We consider this bridge to be an asset that is important to maintain for our community and for visitors. The Broadway Bridge was identified in the 2009 Kentucky Riverfront Development Plan as a link to the community and a link in our trail system. This bridge was also identified in the 2018 Downtown Master Plan as an anchor feature at the west end of Broadway and an important feature in connecting the West Riverfront with downtown and to enable expansion of our trail system. Further, the Broadway Bridge can serve to meet needs that were identified in the 2020 Parks and Recreation Assessment Study. In that study, surveys were sent to 444 residents, identified walking and hiking trails as one of their most important needs. These 3 studies, conducted over the past 11 years, have all pointed out the importance of the Broadway Bridge. We realize there are many pressing needs that the city is facing, and priorities must be established to address them. We urge you to work with the Kentucky Department of Transportation to find a way not to lose this important bridge. And again, that was from Robin Antonucci. Okay, the next letter is from Diane Strong. I encourage Frankfort to remain optimistic about the future of the Broadway Bridge despite the new estimates coming out from the state. The Broadway Bridge is an asset that Frankfort needs to retain. The entire project can be done in phases that will not strain the city's finances. Phase 1 is to address safety. The state has offered $600 million to any entity that takes on full responsibility of the bridge. If the city takes the bridge, that was 600,000. If the city takes the bridge, the 600,000 will cover the estimated 375 of removing the deck and securing it until we can fund the next phases. Once the bridge is safe and stable, all other phases can occur as funds are available, whether they be grants, private funding, or budgeted funds. It's important for us to remember that Frankfort hired experts in urban design planning to create a master plan for us with the help of the citizens, civic groups, and elected leaders. One of the top recommendations in that plan was to utilize the Broadway Bridge. Take a moment to imagine not just the increased connectivity of our city, neighborhoods, and parks, but weddings taking place on the tasting local cuisine at a festival on the bridge, listening to music at concerts. I am confident that the project will pay great returns for the vitality of our city. And that's from Diane Strong again. Okay, the next one is from Lynn Cruz. I have participated in a couple of Zoom meetings with Kentucky Department of Transportation and the Save the Broadway Bridge group. I want to express my support for saving the bridge because of the endless possibilities for public events, not only for our citizens, but for our visitors. Many cities have successfully utilized their older bridges as pedestrian bridges, painted them lively colors, and given them catchy names. I have actually driven to Louisville and Cincinnati to walk on their pedestrian bridges. That's not limit the fact later, like we have with our now non-existent convention center, that we have lost an irreplaceable portion of our downtown landscape. We can use the money being offered by the Department of Transportation to remove the old bridge deck and fortify the piers, and then work on moving slowly forward with grants, private funding, and assistance from the city and county to renovate the bridge. And again, that was from Lynn Cruz. Okay, the next one is Roger Barlow. I am writing in support of the Broadway Bridge. I have lived my entire 56 years in Frankfort and have unfortunately seen many years destruction of our historical features. This bridge, being a part of the master plan, is one of my favorite features. Once it is gone, it is too late. Interesting, the developers of the master plan saw the potential of this bridge when they could have ignored it. Let the professionals do what they do best. The future development in the old Capitol Plaza area will involve much needed downtown apartments. I imagine the current and future state employees will consider Frankfort as more than just a place to work, rather than taking their tax dollars to surrounding counties. The same future and current residents would immediately benefit from the connection across the river for both sport and pleasure. The available money from the state is enough to mothball the bridge until other forms of funding can be acquired. Please save the bridge. And that was, again, Roger Barlow. The next one is from Joel Fisher. I'm writing in support of retaining the Broadway Bridge. The city has benefited from several studies concerning the viability and potential for this structure, including the city visions analysis. I urge the city to work with the county, state, and private sector to retain, preserve, and rehab the Broadway Bridge. And again, that was from Joel Fisher. John Unger says, I am in favor of repairing the Broadway Bridge. Many walkers, runners, and bikes would use it once fixed. Thank you. Okay, the next one's from Brent Swager. I'd like to offer my thoughts regarding the beautiful historic Broadway Bridge. I'm excited to see that our city now has an opportunity to acquire the bridge and work towards its renovation and reuse. There are a lot of great potential uses for the bridge, including walking, biking, river viewing, and event location. Its value as a historic landmark and future activity center is why it was identified as one of the top vision projects in the Downtown Master Plan. It will be another great way for residents and visitors to connect with the river. For you, the major thing that must be decided is where the money will come from to make the renovations. Past public statements have shown that the state transportation is willing for the funds that would have otherwise been used for demolition applied to the renovation. This amount should allow the repair of critical steel members of the structure and demolition of the old concrete decking. Getting the project to this point will both stabilize the bridge and buy time to secure funding to complete the project. Although funding is a critical piece for the future phases, I believe that we can find a solution without an overcommitment of city dollars. I think it would be wise to appoint a project steering committee, including our lobbyist, who can explore other funding avenues. Additionally, as you all know, we have a stupendous grant writer with the city who has tremendous record in getting state and federal funds for projects. In conclusion, I believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that should not be missed. You can now decide to save an important piece of our history and help to drive our city forward toward a successful future. And again, that was Brent Swager. Okay, the next one is from Delvin Asofifa, and I'm sorry, I'm sure I mispronounced his name again. It's from a historical perspective. In the same year that Freddie Mercury died, the internet was made unrestricted for commercial use. Cholera ravaged Latin America. Going postal became a phrase. A cannibal in Milwaukee was discovered, and Terminator 2 took the box office by storm. That year was 1991, which incidentally is the same year the Broadway Bridge was decommissioned from service. In this anniversary year, the state of Kentucky will terminate this bridge, and it won't be back. I believe in the historical value of the bridge, but more importantly, I believe it could serve as a link to the proposed Blanton Landings project. Historically speaking, modern cities who encourage pedestrian traffic and commerce also serve as popular tourist destinations. I could even imagine a scenario with the city being able to rent out events to earn revenue. The problem is that time is about up. We have known for decades the importance of the bridge, and more recently, with the downtown development proposed, have recognized the viability of reviving the bridge. Current estimates have us at $4 million to repair the bridge. The state has proposed to pay for the demolition of the bridge, and they are going to do this by the end of the year. I believe there is enough interest in preserving the Broadway Bridge that financial backing is possible. Because we are so late in the game, I fear that there won't be enough time, especially in the COVID environment, to raise the funds necessary by the year's end. I would propose the city of Frankfort at least make plans to dismantle and store the Broadway Bridge before the state has its way with Frankfort, just like the convention center. I fear that if the bridge is destroyed outright, similarly to the convention center, it will just become an afterthought to future generations of Frankfort. I sincerely thank you for your time and consideration. The next one is from Russ Hatter, who is our Frankfort City historian. To the Mayor of Frankfort and City Commissioners, I would like to be part of the Kentucky River Park Path and utilize for foot traffic with informational plaques discussing the history of Frankfort's railroad on the south side adjacent to the railroad bridge. A nice coat of paint would be an improvement. Okay, the next letter is from Ford, Mariah, Porter, Page, and Hazel Childs. Dear members of the City Commission, removing Broadway Bridge would be a major loss for our community, and we should do everything we can to save and utilize this historic asset. Part of Frankfort's core brand is that we are a town steeped in history. Preserving a prominent historic structure for future generations to enjoy aligns with our goals and strengthens our position as a city that cherishes the past while progressing forward. Broadway Bridge also allows for greater engagement with the Kentucky River, another core image associated with our city's brand. Independent consultants recently hired to suggest improvements to downtown seem to agree, since one of the top recommendations in their master plan was to rehabilitate Broadway Bridge for pedestrian use. The consultants know that revitalizing old bridges increase resident quality of life by furthering pedestrian connectivity, engagement with space. Since fully funding the bridge is an obvious concern, I think the first step should be to address the safety issues of the bridge. My understanding is that the state offered enough funds to secure the structures and to remove sections of the deck. By stabilizing the bridge, we can buy time for our gifted grant writers and advocacy groups to secure funding to finish construction as monies become available. Regarding the option to build a new pedestrian bridge, I am not particularly supportive since I feel the cost is relatively high. It is not consistent with our historic image, and the proposed design does not have the width required to use the bridge as an event space. As a transplant to Frankfort, I first noticed Broadway Bridge 2 years ago when visiting the Saturday Farmers Market at Riverview Park with my wife and 3 children. Noses pressed to the metal chain link, we looked longingly through the fence at this gorgeous play area and could not understand why a city with such a treasure would choose to close it. Let's not waste this unique asset. Okay, and the next comment is from Donna Hecker. And it says, regarding the Broadway Bridge and possible passage of ownership to the city. As a former president of Walk Bike Frankfort and someone with a longtime interest in bicycle and pedestrian facilities, I am opposed to the city of Frankfort taking ownership of the Broadway Bridge without the following conditions in place. KYTC provide the city with adequate funds to repair or replace the damaged pier. KYTC provide the city with adequate funds to remove the dilapidated deck. KYTC provide the city with adequate funds to remove the dilapidated sidewalk. KYTC provide the city with adequate funds to cover the cost of a comprehensive design plan for the conversion of the bridge to pedestrian and bicycle use. Several years ago, I conducted extensive research into the history of how the Broadway Bridge was intentionally and systematically neglected by KYTC after its closure to vehicular traffic, despite repeated requests by the city of Frankfort to rehabilitate it for other forms of transportation. While I unconditionally support a pedestrian and bicycle bridge at the site of the current Broadway Bridge, I do not support the renovation and rehabilitation of the current structure without significant compensation by KYTC for its 30-year history of willful neglect. I also don't believe this issue is an either-or proposition. I ask the city to consider a third option: the demolition of the current bridge and replacement of the damaged pier, and construction of a new structure which would ideally incorporate elements of the historic bridge, perhaps as artistic features. Not only would this be far less expensive than a historic renovation, it might also open up opportunities for funding to restore the parklands on the northwest bank of the Kentucky River, which have deteriorated significantly in the last 5 to 10 years. Thank you, and that was from Donna Hecker. Okay, the next comment's from Robert Kirkman. Over the years, this town has lost a significant amount of the historic landmarks that define this place. The Broadway Bridge is the latest on the chopping block. Few small cities are lucky to have a river running through them. Much of the access has been privatized and few access points are left. The bridge is a pretty awesome one. In my opinion, it would be a damn shame to lose this. I would put it into the same realm of loss as the cave. How many such defining features must we surrender? Beyond the spectacular bridge itself and the utility it will provide, the biggest benefit to its restoration and use would be the connection it makes to the other side of the river. I dream of walking legally, across the bridge with my family and looping around along the river to the 127 bridges. It makes a spectacular walk, but it's currently difficult to do with a stroller. And again, that's Robert Kirkman. The next letter is from Brittany Sams. I'm writing to express my support for saving the Broadway Street pedestrian bridge. The 2012 Downtown Master Plan and the 2009 Riverfront Development Plan identified the Broadway Bridge as an important potential asset to Frankfort's future. The 2020 Parks and Recreation Assessment Study also identified walking, hiking, and biking trails as one of the community's most desired needs. I believe that saving the Broadway Street pedestrian bridge provides a unique opportunity to fulfill all the goals stated in the above studies, and additionally allows for the preservation of a historic structure that has been internationally recognized in its own right as part of Frankfort's collection of historic bridges, contributory to the significance of many other surrounding structures, as well as significant to Frankfort's history. The Broadway Street pedestrian bridge can continue to contribute to and enhance life in Frankfort by providing better connectivity for walking and biking, scenic access to the Kentucky River, and another cultural asset for heritage tourism to our community. I hope you will consider the great potential for this bridge in both representing Frankfort's past and its ability to enhance Frankfort's future. And again, that's Brittany Sams. Next one is from Mariah Childs. Hope I said that correctly. From the first moment I visited Frankfort, decided to move here, and explored all the wonders that downtown has to offer, walkability has been a top desire I believe would benefit our community. Connecting the people to our outside and the businesses we have is absolutely necessary. We already have a beautiful bridge on Broadway, and it seems crazy to just eliminate what we already have. Please consider all options before tearing down a potential beauty and benefit to our community. The next letter I have is from Ann Wingrove and Ken Bates. We are very interested in keeping the Broadway Bridge in some form or another, as we live on Buttermore Hill, and the bridge is our connection to downtown. In the 35 years we've lived on the hill, that bridge was used by many of the neighborhood to access downtown and Riverview Park. We all used it more safely before the steps were removed, and now we must walk down the narrow roadway and along Taylor Avenue without sidewalks, but we still want to have access to downtown. One fact many do not know is that the bridge is the only on-grade crossing of the river. When biking with my kids, that was the only option for crossing the river. The Miro Street Bridge walkway has steps on the Bell Point side when coming from Buttermore Hill along the river path, and also now on the other side of crossing Wilkerson Boulevard. The Capitol Avenue Bridge also has steps on the sidewalk, not to mention that riding a bike on the sidewalk is not only illegal but hazardous. Riding on the street is even more hazardous, so that leaves the Singing Bridge. When it was open, there were signs prohibiting bicycles. All of the above constraints and challenges are even more true for those that use a wheelchair. So how can you teach safe and legal biking while crossing the river in Frankfort? How can a person that uses a wheelchair cross the river? How can the downtown be connected without this important link? One idea that I don't think has been discussed is adding a pedestrian biking section to the railroad bridge. Of course, Corman would have to give permission. I think if the railroad bridge is strong enough, Frankfort is really serious about becoming a walkable city, then at least one safe, accessible crossing of the river is critical. I encourage the City Commission to be creative, bold, and forward-thinking and invest in a long-term asset for Frankfort. Thanks for your work on this important issue. Okay, and this is the last one. Kevin Breek Says the Broadway Bridge is an obvious historic asset to our community, but its value as an attraction is yet to be developed. As a resident of North Frankfort, directly across from the Parcel B redevelopment project, the bridge rehabilitation offers yet another important amenity for Frankfort's future. Allowing the removal of this historic landmark would greatly diminish our future prosperity and growth, which are just beginning to develop. We stand at a critical time in our future development. If we can't find a way to preserve the bridge as an asset for Frankfort, how can we expect the surrounding development to grow? Our community decided this bridge renovation was a top priority through the Downtown Master Plan process, where more than 5,000 people have input and supported the renovation. The renovated historic bridges offers great opportunity to develop an attraction for programming and events as an historic landmark. The proposed new bridge option, a 10-foot pathway, would greatly diminish this potential for a lesser return that forever removes a historic landmark of our community. I'm excited for our future, and I ask that you support the renovation project and fully explore the bridge project, calculate the true costs of the project, and potential partnerships and funding avenues. And again, that was Kevin Breek, and I believe that's the end of the comments.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your comments, and thank you to our city clerk for reading those comments. Good work. That was a marathon. Yes, Commissioner Waters.
Yes. Thank you, Shermay, for that. I appreciate that. Mayor, I was wondering, since we've had so many letters in discussion for action item 12, could we just move action item 12 up and go ahead and discuss that now, since it's only a discussion, since we've had a few letters and it's fresh in our mind instead of separating it for the end? I'd like to make a motion to move that up to now for that discussion, since we've just had all those letters, if everyone agrees.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll discuss it now. And I'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Unger.
All right, I can get us started here. Yeah, I'd like to thank the community for sending in all those comments. I really didn't expect all of that, but it was really good to hear because, you know, it'd be nice to be able to do this in person, but I'm glad that people are engaging with us and letting us know how they feel about it. Sorry for the noise, but I'd just like to go ahead and say I am in support of looking at options on seeing how we can either save the bridge or restore the bridge. Like many of the letters said, I'd like to mention that it was a key part of our downtown master plan. A quote directly from that plan says, "A pleasant, easily, and walkable downtown is a key element in Frankfort's future health and vitality." And that bridge would be a really big part of that. So, you know, our community obviously wants to look at all options. I've been listening in on the 106 review that's going on with KYTC. And one of the things that they said in the last meeting was that this Broadway Bridge has been and had one of the highest turnouts of community members that are interested, who are listening in, who are sending in comments, asking questions. So it's just proof that our community really does care. So I would like to say, you know, we all know it'll work on connectivity, walkability, bikeability, access for the neighborhoods on that side of the bridge that want to be able to get downtown easier on a level bridge. And it'll open up that connectivity to all of our downtown businesses and future developments of the parcels. So I'm in support of it. I think that we need to, as a city, communicate with KYTC, show our interest, and then maybe see if we can talk about some sort of extension. So we can really look at the numbers and figure out how we can work on partnerships, on funding. But that's sort of where I'm going to leave it. I'm a big promoter of trying to make this happen. So I'm excited to see where we can go with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Unger. Anyone else? I'll jump in and say that it is, I think, by the comments that we've heard tonight, I think everyone would agree that this is something we want to save. Of course, if the cost were free, I don't think anybody would be against saving the historic bridge. And I think we need, as a commission, as a community, we need more time to evaluate the numbers that we have only recently received from the state or from our consultants on the rehabilitation of the bridge and of the underwater, the piers. And beyond that, we need more time to evaluate the funding sources. I think this is something that is going to take it's going to be multiple levels of funding. There's going to be potentially city involvement, private involvement, state involvement, nonprofit involvement, and grants. So I think we need to put all hands on deck on this. Last week, I think was really when we started to mobilize the team, if you will, on this project. And we have all of our staff, including our new strategic initiatives consultant, working to determine what our options are. I think there's no doubt, though, that the bridge it's not only historic. I think that is one reason to look at saving it in its own right. We also have transportation reasons to save it. It is a connecting point from downtown to another part of town that I think has been overlooked. I've mentioned it before, the 3 Bs. And I think as someone mentioned last week, there's a bridge to nowhere because there's nothing over there. But I think the reality is, as one of our comments has said, it's been closed since 1991. So what do we expect? And I think we do need to leverage the state and when we look at salvaging the bridge, because it has, there hasn't been a lot of money, but a lot of deferred maintenance on this bridge. But beyond that, we have tourism reasons, as our tourism commission has stated. This could be, I know in other cities it's mentioned before, but Louisville, and you look at Cincinnati, and you look at Chattanooga, and in New York, the Highline Park, you have walkable bridges. This could be, if done well, a tourism attraction, not to mention the historic part of this. But beyond that, I think it's an anchor of the downtown master plan. I think it's one more box we can check off. And I think it's important to continue that momentum. So I'm in support of it. I'll do all I can to work with the state, and we're working on that right now to set up meetings to extend the timeline for decision. And then we're also working to find funding sources so that we can come back later on and look at a number that the city might have to commit to. So I'll open it to someone else. Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mayor. And I saw Mr. Russell's hand up earlier before I got a chance to speak. So I don't know if you saw that or not, Mr. Russell, if you wanted to go first.
Commissioner, go right ahead. I can speak when you're through, sir.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to, from a talking point, just to simply address all the citizen comments again. Thank you all very much for participating in the discussion, and wanted to again just let everybody know simply that I'm in support of doing everything we can to keep this asset here for our community. And I think as we talk about it, right, we keep saying, including myself, that we're saving a bridge. And while that is true from a historic aspect, we also need to remember that we're not just saving a bridge, we're also creating a link to progress. We're creating a discussion and showing people, that we're open to what a great opportunity to bridge the gap between preservation and progress, and show people that these two things can work together. And in our community, especially, that's so unique in what we have to offer. I mean, I got to be honest, before this issue really came up, I didn't know about, I'll say, bridge culture and the draw to it, and the people that really enjoy just having those assets in the community from a historic standpoint. It is going to be a balance. And I think that the most important thing we do right now is, take the time to make sure we do it right, and to do it systematically in a way that is the most economical for our citizens and for the future of this community and for potential future development. It's a huge project, and I would really be discouraged if in one of our first opportunities to start implementing things that so many individuals from city staff to contractors to citizen comments have worked hard on with the master plan to I don't want to say drop the ball on it, but this is an opportunity to say, you know, all that hard work, it's time for us to start implementing what people have done. And so I support it. I support moving forward with the discussions to keep it around, and anything we can do to keep the historical integrity of it, I'm going to be in full support of. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Russell.
Mayor, just an update. As you said earlier, we mobilized city staff on this just here recently. Mr. Chuck Knowles is going to be the project manager for this thing. Ms. Peevler is on board. Ms. Hall is on board. We are looking for funding in all ways, shapes, and forms. We're looking for insurance on the bridge. Should we take complete ownership of the bridge to see what that's going to cost? And Chuck Knowles, Mr. Knowles is going to bring us back numbers on maintenance, 10-year maintenance, yearly maintenance, everything from a wooden structure to a concrete slab to if we keep the entire superstructure on the bridge, to see what those things look like, because we certainly need to make sure that we look far enough into the future to see what the next set of maintenance is going to be on that bridge, you know, 5 years from now or 10 years from now. So we don't have to go back in and it's not going to come up with some number that surprises us. So I would assume, and I have sent out an email to a bridge guys, Josh Rogers, to see what their next drop dead date is per se. Had a conversation with Ms. Bierenberg to see where we stand in the 106 process and when they think that can be completed. But I think Mr. Knowles will have a good set of numbers for us in a couple of weeks that we can go by, and we should know then what the state's time frame is for some type of answer from the city. And perhaps with your meeting with the Commissioner Gray, that we'll have some good movement on the bridge and see what we can do. But I wanted to update everybody on where city staff was and what we were doing for this project.
Thank you. Commissioner Waters.
Well, I appreciate everyone coming and bringing comments, definitely. So thank you. As I put this on today, I've asked the mayor to put this on today for discussion because a lot of people have been talking about it, and we've continued to extend and extend and extend. And sometime, you know, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with this, because the state is really going to say, you know what, we're tired of extending. So that's first and foremost, we're going to have to move forward with something. My second is that I'm not opposed to just rushing and getting it done. However, you know, if the money was there to help, like and I was going to say some of the things Tommy shared, is the maintenance, taking care of it. This is just not a one-time, oh, let's fix this bridge and it's done. It's continuing maintenance on something that's already old and things of that nature. And in some of the bridge meetings that I attended, you know, the options that we had ranged from $5 million to 1.5 million of us redoing our own bridge and using the piers. And right now, I've spoken with several people that actually wrote letters, and, you know, and I supported them and said, hey, send in letters. Let's hear what you have to say. And I've had conversations with the mayor, but, you know, financially, this is going to be huge on us. And given the circumstances of all the money that the city has forward right now, you know, if we were to save this bridge, you're looking about $5 million, and that doesn't have to come out of the city. You know, there could be, the key word is could be, there could be grants. Those are could be, right? So if we do take this on and there could be grants, you know, how many years could we be writing for grants to pay for this? And if the grants do not come through, what is the cost of our keeping up this bridge to keep it intact? I, as shared in my last meeting with you, Mayor, and staff, you know, I felt like the best thing to do was to move forward with this demolition of the bridge. and save the piers. At that time, the feasibility study had not brought back official numbers for us, but I had estimated the numbers to be about $350,000 to $400,000, and they hit roughly around that, which would make our then bridge, if we built from using the piers, would be about 2.1 million is what I shared. I just think continuing to put this off, I just don't want to get the city in between a rock and a hard place and funding not come through, and then we're stuck like with what city interim manager said, Russell said about, insurance, continuous maintenance. I think the best thing to do, and I'm willing to let Chuck Knowles and Miss Penny Peevler give a ring at it if the state is willing to do that, to see where funding comes from. But I really, truly think that right now, we have something that could be technically pushing our economic, generator over in Blanton's Landing that is need of millions of dollars to get that off the ground and running, which will bring in return on investment versus a bridge. So if we continue wanting to save this bridge, I would love to know what the study is on return on investment and piping money into this bridge and saving it for its historic value. We also must not let it overshadow of what's important, a bridge to walk over a river or a bridge to drive over the river. So as we know, the Singing Bridge is also history, right? And it is not in the best condition. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of that. And as of right now, it is clearly being fixed due to an accident. But if we do our research on that particular bridge in a few years, we're going to have to do maintenance on that bridge. And I feel like that the state will not help us with that bridge when it comes time, because we already have 2 bridges that are going over the river. And I think that it could become an opportunity where the city may have to step up and put money toward that bridge, which is more feasible for that. Would the community rather use Singing Bridge, or would the community rather have that bridge, as it is now, non-feasible and non-relatable? So for me, I just have to take those into consideration moving forward. We have the YMCA at 2.5 million. We have this parking garage at 3 million over our head, a bridge that may cost 5 million in that. We have another 750,000 over in parcel B that's going to be there. We may have to do some things over on the Singing Bridge, which would be a few $1,000,000 if it comes back down on the city. We also have Blanton's Landing that's going to be $1 million. And if you add that up right now, we're looking around $14-15 million to get a lot of this stuff going. And I just think we need to make sure we're planning appropriately and putting what we need to do first and forward, and what is going to have a return on investment. So I think that if we did do a demolition, if we needed to go ahead and take money to fix the piers, because if we don't fix them now, the underwater study, it could be worse. So that would be an engineer issue, not mine. And go ahead and get those done so we could use those piers at a later time. However, if the people that Mr. Interim City Manager had said can show us something in the next month or two where money can come from and grants can come from, I'm willing to look at that if the state's willing to give it an extension, but I don't really support an extension at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Waldridge. Any other discussion? Commissioner Unger.
I just had a question. The Singing Bridge is still a state-owned bridge, correct? Because, I mean, they would be the ones spending the money to keep that bridge up to date. And then,
Correct.
so I just think we need to, hold the state accountable, because they let the Broadway Bridge get into the state. So, yeah. Just wanted to ask, clear up the Singing Bridge, that it's state-owned.
Yes, it is a state-owned bridge. As I stated, it's state-owned, but the state does not have to put money back into that bridge to keep it open. They do have the right to close down a bridge at any time, giving that. So if they do get to the point where it is falling under passability to go over that bridge, then it would fall on the city if we would like to put money into that bridge to save that bridge from being closed down. That's why I stated that. Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that sent in letters and communicated with us on this issue. I am interested in a discussion that we had earlier in the week, but discussing funding coming from R.J. Corman, that they utilize the other side of that bridge they have not maintained it in any sense. They are the benefactors of that on a daily basis, at least 3-4 times a day. It would be in their best interest for that to be maintained. I want the city to approach RJ Corman to discuss their buy-in to this this project, as well as any private funding that we might be able to get through some of our corporate, our larger corporations in town that would want to get in on a project like this for a historic project. And I'm thinking of the distilleries and otherwise. But I think until we have the conversations with the state to find out exactly how much we are looking at for them kicking in, the discussion with RJ Corman, which I think is a really important discussion that we should really hold their feet to the fire on that, and then find out what our corporate partners might put in here. Until those conversations are had, I don't think that we're necessarily in a position to say this is the way the project's going to go. So if that means that we have to use the current transportation money that has been offered, and I think one of the letters said mothball the project until we have a better plan, that may be a good avenue to go down to at least address the issues on the piers immediately, and then go back as the money comes through and fix them in a timely manner once we have those funds. I'm with Commissioner Waldridge. I don't want to say everything is about money, but once you start bonding $3, $4, $10, $14, $15 million worth of projects, then you're putting a lot of eggs in the basket to make those payments. And while I know this is an important project and it's an important issue for downtown, I want to make sure that it is invested in wisely and that we do not make poor financial decisions to get to where we eventually want to be. Thank you.
Mr. Russell.
I was just going to say, Commissioner Thompson, we are, that has always been a CSX line through town. We're trying to determine now who's got the maintenance on that, whether it's RJ Corman or CSX. So we are pursuing that avenue, sir, as we sit here, and should have an answer pretty soon.
I have a distinct feeling CSX is going to say it's Corman and Corman's going to say it's CSX. So keep us up to date on that. But being around long enough to know that that's what that decision is going to go like.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes, Kyle, that was nice that you brought that up. And I mentioned that in our last meeting that I had, I think, with Mayor and our staff, is to find out, like they said, who owns it, who's doing that, as well as some, I can't remember how many piers there are, but there is a pier that takes some of that from, I don't know what the percentage of weight would be on those piers, but if there is a percentage of weight on the certain piers that we are trying to take over, then there should be a responsibility on their behalf, and maybe even, like you said, a dollar sign to that. But I know that there's been a couple of conversations with RJ Corman, and they, like you said, have said no. And so I guess that's just sort of going to be chasing the mouse on who does it come down to as far as what paperwork says and what is the latest paperwork on it. So, so that would be what I'd say for RJ Corman, I suppose. But I would also like to say that when we do move forward, I would definitely make sure that on the state conversations that we ask the state how they feel about our Singing Bridge, that if they help us with one bridge or things of that nature, what happens to the Singing Bridge? And is it at the top of their list to save if it comes down to our Singing Bridge deteriorating? Because I would assume that the majority of our community, I know that there was about 20 letters written today, and most of them I personally know, or know that their connections on why they would like this bridge, whether it's Butterman Hill, whether it's owning property that this leads to, whether it's property in a trust for someone, whether it's property, that could be built on that side. Like, I completely understand all of those, but when we take in consideration the entire city, this bridge, as far as the Singing Bridge is concerned, it worries me. It really worries me. And that right there would be my first concern to pipe money into if the state does not care about our Singing Bridge. So, but I do agree with Kyle in stages. So,
Thank you. And I agree with that, you know, Singing Bridge, when we have those discussions with the state, that's our first conversation because that's an acute need right now. And if we could move that timeline up, that'd be great. And if no other objections, we'll have staff start working on a plan. And I would, as far as a couple of those, and then on the, you know, and then I'd like to see just what it would take to make that a bridge that we could have some pedestrian traffic to go across so we can connect both sides of the river. I'd like to see the range and then not only the cost up front, but then also what is the annual maintenance cost going to be. In the meantime, we can get to work on finding those sources because, you know, we all know that what the numbers are being thrown around, but reality is we have an opportunity right now to get everyone together and find that money and hopefully as little as possible for the city. So that's what we're here to do. Any other discussion on that? Otherwise, staff can start working on it. Yes, Commissioner Watridge.
this is a question for interim city manager. When could we expect, is there already meetings set up? When can we expect some movement on this so we can stay on top of this since this continues to have a deadline and we continue to stretch and stretch? When could we have an update on that?
I think we can have a lot of the numbers to you all sometime next week.
Okay.
There are a lot of numbers out there already in the document from Palmer.
Yeah.
That we have looked at several times, and I assume they've done their due diligence. But we will confirm those things. And like I say, Mr. Knowles was working on maintenance issues and things like that. So we'll try to put together a pretty comprehensive report, try to put out by the end of next week. And I should have an answer from KYTC Bridge people on when the next date is that they expect sometime here pretty soon.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
Do we want to add this to the next discussion meeting so that we can update everybody on those numbers saying they do come through?
I think that should be the plan. March 8th is our work session. So I think that would be we'll pencil that in. How about that?
Okay.
I think that's a wise thing. Okay, great. All right. Good discussion, everyone. So now we'll go back to the consent calendar. I ask the city manager to roll through that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Consent calendar item 1 is minutes, January 11, 2021 special work session, January 25, 2021 special regular meeting. Consent calendar item number 2, rear loading garbage truck purchase. The Division of Solid Waste would like to purchase a 25-yard rear loading garbage truck to replace some of the trucks in the fleet that have exceeded their service life and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. This truck will be available soon and could be delivered as soon as May 2021. If the department wants to order a truck, it could take up to a year for delivery. A budget amendment would be required for the solid waste equipment, account number 100-65-56550. Consent calendar item number 3, H&A Resources contract renewal from sewer. Purpose of this memo is to recommend a contract renewal of the biosolids disposal contract with H&A Resources and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Once the project is completed, there'll be no need to continue with a disposal contract. Funds are available in account number 300.68.53295. This account has $500,000 budgeted for FY 2021. Consent calendar 4, Matheson oxygen contract renewal sewer. Purpose of this memo is to request the authorization for a contract extension with Matheson Trigas Inc. to provide liquid oxygen for the ozone system and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. The annual budget for liquid oxygen is $125,000. This will provide the majority of the disinfectant for the entire year. Peracetic acid is used as a backup disinfectant. Sewer Department will initiate a purchase order requisition to the Finance Department to generate a purchase order to Matheson Tri-Gas Inc. in the amount of $125,000. Consent calendar number 5. Purpose of this memo is to request approval of a professional services agreement with HMB to provide engineering, design, and inspection services related to the manhole rehab project and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. HMB shall provide design and construction, administration, and inspection services for the project in the amount of $50,000. Consent calendar item number 6. The purpose of this agenda item is to seek commission approval to select Brandstetter Carroll Inc. out of Lexington, Kentucky to approve architecture and engineering services for the splash pad aquatic facility and restroom renovation project at Dolly Graham Park, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Total costs of the provided services are 10% of the final cost of the project. Funds are available in the city's capital projects funds through the Land and Water Conservation Grant. Number 7, Leslie Morris Park roof bid rejection and rebidding. Purpose of this agenda item is to seek commission approval to reject previously received bids for the Leslie Morris Park roof replacement project for the Simon House and the Gippy Graham Shelter, and to authorize the mayor to sign any related documents. With approval of rejecting the 2 received bids, Parks Department, in conjunction with the city's finance department and historic preservation officer, will move forward with rejecting the bids, tweaking the bid package, and resubmitting bids. Then we'll bring the new bids back to the commission for approval. Consent calendar number 8, certified local government grant projects. Staff wishes to confirm a plan of action for current and future certified local government grants based on requests from the previous city commission. The recommendation of staff, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Consent calendar number 9, transit grant CRRSAA amendment. Staff requests authorization to accept funds in the amount of $149,326 and amend the City of Frankfort's public transportation grant agreement by that amount due to FY21 Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental and Appropriations Act of 2021. This funding does not require a match from the city. The grant does not require a match from the city. Operating expenses incurred under this grant will be reimbursed 100%. Consent calendar 10, personnel action, promotion of Ben Gill in the sewer department from Lab Tech 4 to pre-treatment coordinator chemist, 3/2 of 21.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Waters, second by Commissioner Unger.
Okay.
Commissioner Thompson.
Can I ask a quick question, please? Number 8 on the consent calendar discusses staff wishes to confirm a plan of action for current and future certified local government grants based on requests from the previous city commission staff, and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Is there a specific set of recommendations and requests from the previous city commission that we need to know about with these grant projects?
I think there was a plan set into action on how to spend some of those grant monies. Rebecca I remember having the conversation twice. I think Rebecca can explain it way better than I can, to be honest with you, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Originally, we had applied for grant funds to bring Bob Yap here to conduct a training, a workshop, a one-day classroom workshop, and one-day hands-on workshop. Because of COVID-19, we had not been able to do that. So we would like to transfer those funds to work on a survey and possibly a historic register nomination for the water tower at Cove Spring. That's the one that we've already received money, and we'd like to switch that to the Cove Spring. And also, we'd like to apply for funding for Bob Yap to come, since we didn't get to do it this year, he could come back once we feel it's appropriate to bring him here to do a workshop for our citizens for historic preservation training. And then the other grant would be, Vicki Bernberg might want to jump on board with this. It's African American contributions to the history of Frankfort. We'd like to do a survey and a study of that. So we would like to apply for those 2 new grants for 2021, and then just switch the Bob Yap training from 2020 to the Cove Spring Water Tower.
How much in total grants are we talking about for these projects?
I believe the one for Bob Yap that we already have is a total of 11,000, and we would be responsible for 4,400, which planning already has that in their budget. The new grants would be for Bob Yap to come back would be another $11,000 grant, which we would be responsible for 4,400. And I'm not sure if Vicki has gotten the actual dollar amount for the survey or African American history grant. I want to say she said about 16,000 total. I'm sorry, I can't do the math.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for that information.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll. You're on mute.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Commissioner Waters.
I just wanted to bring attention to number 6, the Dolly Graham Park that we're moving forward with. I just wanted to know what the start date was for Randstetter. If Sean is on the call to see when does he think that they may be able to come in and start that, and just to make sure. And I appreciate you putting the things out for Dolly Graham out on the website so our community can continuously go back and see where we are with that. And we want to keep on updating that. But is there a date that we can give verbal to our community of when that may happen?
The splash pad and restroom renovation, that plan and design will start as soon as tomorrow if that's approved. Well, you did approve it, so it'll start as soon as tomorrow. I'll be in contact with them first thing in the morning and let them know that their contract has been approved, and then we will meet shortly after that and start to work on the design, and then they'll give me a date of when real construction can start on the splash pad and restroom. So I can't say for sure right now, but I would say by the work session, I should have a pretty good idea of when we'll be able to start some real work.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
just make sure that, for us, for the community, there's been, of course, a lot of questions around Dolly Graham and a lot of community input. And so if we can just continue to keep our website open, sort of, update it like the Tiger grant, we're moving the Tiger along. If we could do something to make sure our community is aware all times of where we're going with that, it'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, there'll be another update coming on the website shortly, probably this week. And the playground, that work will start before the splash pad. We do have a date for that. That's late March, early April. The construction on that will start. So.
Thank you, Sean. Okay. No other discussion? We already voted on that. So next item on the agenda is board appointment. And for Code Enforcement Board, I submit to you a reappointment of Karen Powell for a term expiring January 27th, 2024.
Mayor, I accept your appointment.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, we're moving to action items, and we have a second reading of an ordinance. And I'll ask Solicitor Ross to read that for us, please.
An ordinance amending section 37.31E of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to pay plan classification and compensation. This ordinance amends section 37.31E of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to pay plan classification and compensation to change the job title of Parks Curator to Museum and Historic Site Supervisor, and to amend the pay grade to 80 for the following positions: Museum and Historic Site Supervisor and Golf Course Superintendent.
We have a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second by Commissioner Unger. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Next action item is a first reading. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Ross.
And Mayor, if we could ask if there is a member of the Board of Commissioners who is willing to introduce or sponsor this ordinance and the following ones that are having first readings.
Okay. Yeah, so all the first readings, Commissioner Waters.
I move to sponsor this, number 2.
Okay.
An ordinance rezoning property located near the intersection of Brighton Park Boulevard and Versailles Road with the address of 452 Versailles Road, more specifically described as PBA map number 085000016.01 from limited commercial district CL to general commercial district CG. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 452 Versailles Road, more specifically described as PBA map number 085000016.01 from limited commercial district CL to general commercial district CG.
Any discussion on this first ordinance, first reading?
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that they took into account the original planned townhouses that were proposed and that those were removed from the plan eventually, which satisfied at least everyone involved in the meeting. Is that correct?
Let's see.
There's Eric.
Mr. Cockley, yes, please.
Commissioner Thompson, they originally included a set of townhomes on the rear of the property and then subsequently altered their application before going to the Planning Commission with a concept plan that no longer included those. Then I'll just also offer to the commission and to the public. I know we had some comments earlier on this zone change with some kind of site-specific concerns that the neighborhood had as well. And so I just wanted to mention to you all that the Planning Commission did require the development for this, the development plan for this project to come back to them for review so that they'll have an opportunity to satisfy themselves that some mitigating work has been done to deal with those concerns. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
Is there a process already laid out by which they can come back to the board? Or is it going to be a completely new process?
No, this is something that happens fairly often when we have, so typically development plans are administratively approved, and as long as our technical review team approves them and they comply with the zoning regulations, we would administratively approve most development plans.
Yeah.
But our planning commission has been known to, this isn't terribly unusual, that when they have a zone change and they support the zone change, but there's maybe a particular site-specific concern, maybe sometimes it could be stormwater, it could be traffic, it could be a particular landscape buffer issue, something like that. They'll require when they do the zone change for the development plan to come back to them, I think as a way of trying to assuage the concerns of the public, that they are going to make sure that those things that were brought up at the public hearing are addressed in some fashion. So not terribly unusual. Frankly, what we'll typically do then is once the zone change goes through and development plans are submitted, we'll review administratively. And when we get close enough to where staff's comfortable approving the plan, then we'll get it on a planning commission agenda. And so the public will have an opportunity to see the plan and comment.
Understood. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay. We move on to the reading of the next ordinance. We need someone to. Commissioner Unger. Okay.
An ordinance rezoning property located at the intersection of Martin Luther King Boulevard and the East-West Connector with the address of 101 Martin Luther King Boulevard, more specifically described as PBA map number 075000004.04, from Limited Commercial District CL and Residential B District RB to Limited Commercial District CL. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 101 Martin Luther King Boulevard, more specifically described as PBA map numbers 075000004.04, from Limited Commercial District CL and Residential B District RB to Limited Commercial District CL.
Any discussion on this action item? Seeing none, we'll move on to action item number 4, the first reading.
I'll sponsor number 4, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Waters.
An ordinance amending section 40.22A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to fire department original appointments. This ordinance amends section 40.22A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to lower the age requirement from 21 years of age to 19 years of age upon date of appointment to the Frankfort Fire Department.
Any discussion? Any comments? Okay. Move on to action item number 5, the next ordinance.
I will sponsor that.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson.
An ordinance amending section 40.21 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to police department original appointments. This ordinance amends section 40.21B1 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to police department original appointments to allow patrol officer interviews to occur when the Civil Service Board is convened for other interviews, such as fire police promotional interviews or fire original appointment interviews.
Any questions or discussion on that ordinance? Action item number 6, another ordinance. First,
I move to sponsor.
thank you.
An ordinance amending section 40.23 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to police department promotions. This ordinance amends section 40.23A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to police department promotions to set the following promotional eligibility requirements. A, sergeants in higher rank must serve 1 year in the next lower rank. B, officers hired as original appointments must serve a total of 48 months. C, officers hired through the accelerated process must have completed a total of 72 months of service as a sworn officer, including time at another agency without disciplinary actions, with a minimum of 24 months of service with the Frankfort Police Department. And D, officers hired through the retiree process are not eligible for promotion due to serving on a year-to-year basis under contract.
Okay. Any comments or discussion? Okay, we'll see that again. And move on to action item number 7. Police surplus vehicle in order. I'll ask staff to help us out here.
Chief Adams, I see his name up on the thing. Was this one of yours, Chief?
Hi,
Yes,
Chief.
sir. It's the old animal control truck. It's in the repairs that are needed on it are far more than what it's worth.
Okay. Any discussion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion? A second by Commissioner Unger. Ask clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger, Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Action item number 8, solid waste surplus trucks in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes, and I just want to thank Byron and all of his guys for all their hard work this past week.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Moving on to action item number 8, street department surplus items in order. Did we just do that one?
Number 9.
Motion to approve. We're on number 9. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Unger. I ask the clerk, please call the roll without any discussion.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Action item number 10, renewal of Sustainable Strategies DC contract for 2021 related to our grants. They're our grants consultant.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Waldridge,
Second.
second by Commissioner Thompson. Ask clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes. Okay. Action item number 11, the 2020 Juniper Hill Golf Course discounts and refunds that were due to COVID-19. So we have staff on here that want to, or do we have any
Mr.
discussion?
Pickens, I'm sure is on here, Mayor. We can speak to this because of some of the time that the golf course was closed and probably because of emergency management and COVID. We shut that down until we could get things figured out on how we would run the golf course, what would have to do to make everything COVID correct, per se. In that time frame, there are some members that feel like that they paid X number of dollars for a full membership and they think they should get X number of plays for a full membership. I did not have staff go back and count the number of days that it rained for those 8 weeks while we were off in March, but we would be splitting hairs there by a few days. But this is what Mr. Pickens and the Golf Pro suggested, and they thought it would be fair. It's not a large amount of money, and if it doesn't appease those players, then as far as I'm concerned, there are other golf courses that they can play if they don't like ours. But ours is a gym with the pro and our golf course superintendent taking care of it.
Motion to approve.
Pickens, anything else you'd like to add?
No, just basically relaying what he said. There was about a 12-month or 12-week period, about 3 months that golf carts weren't available, because that was kind of our biggest concern of how do we keep those clean and disinfected and keep people separated from COVID. So that was kind of the big sticking point with people. People were paying for golf cart use and they weren't able to use them for about 12 weeks. So that's kind of the main reason why we're wanting to offer this.
We have a motion by Commissioner Watridge.
With my motion, or I'll go ahead and let someone second so we can discuss.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Your May, second.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Let's discuss.
Commissioner Ray. My question, Sean, is I understand basically what the confusion could be in reimbursement. Have we spoke with these individuals to the point that they want reimbursement, or would they like that to carry over into 2021 and then them just pay the difference of that instead of us having to do reimbursements?
No, that's what we're doing. We're giving a discount. We're giving a
So it's just
discount
going forward, so we're not, okay,
getting a discount that would have been worth a 20% refund.
okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. Okay, great.
Any other discussion? I ask clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner Unger,
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Yes.
Discussion. Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Is anyone hearing that echo? Okay, it's not just me. Okay, hopefully that's the end of that. Okay, we've already discussed action item number 12. We'll move on to action item number 13, the Thoroughbred Trail update. Commissioner Waldridge.
Mayor, thank you. I asked for this to be put on the agenda just to give the community an update on where we are. I know that we sent the RFP out. I believe it was rewarded, and just want to, being that the spring is hopefully right around the corner, for us to be able to groundbreak. And this is one jewel that we've been working on for many, many years, way before my time. I think it was with Donna Hecker and Walk Bike Frankfort. So I would like to know what a plan would be on that, if Rebecca could share with us, and Sean. Thanks.
Sure, I'll give you part of the update and let Sean update you on the fencing. We did award the contract back in December, and on January 8th, several of staff members met with the contractor, Colston Paving, and they indicated that as soon as the weather broke, they would be working to clear the trail. Of course, they will not be doing any paving until the asphalt company's open, but there is a April 30th date that we've asked them to have completion. Of course, if we have multiple rain dates between now and April 30th, I'm sure we'll give them a little bit of a break, but that's when we would like to have it completed. And there is, Sean can talk to you a little bit about the fencing that he's put the RFP out for, I believe, or getting ready to put the RFP for.
Was that April 30th? You were cutting in and out on my end. I'm not sure if she was for everyone else. Was that an April 30th date?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, she mentioned fencing and railing. There's a section or several sections of the trail that have a considerable steep drop off on the left-hand side if you're walking up. So there will be several sections that will require a railing. It's not really a fence, it's more of a railing, kind of like a hand railing as you go up a set of steps. So that's a fall protection. So we've got a bid out on that currently as we speak. And it's due, I believe, March 4th. So next Thursday, that's due. And so we'll see what those bids come back as, and then that'll be brought forth to the commission. So, and that's been working in partnership with Strand Associates. They provided the specifications on the size of the railing, the type of the railing, and where exactly the railing needs to go. And they help write the bid specs that we sent out. So that'll be coming up at the next commission meeting.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Commissioner Unger.
Thank you, Commissioner Waldridge, for getting that on the agenda, because that's a big project. I know a lot of Frankfort has been interested in for years. So thanks to staff for making it happen. Hopefully we can have some sort of event to celebrate the opening of it this spring. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the Thoroughbred Trail update? Any comments? Any questions for staff? No, if not, we'll continue on. Commissioner Waters.
I just have one comment to bring up is I hope that once we get this finished and completed in April, and come back to the commission for us to discuss on what we want this trail to look like as far as, you know, could we start putting history markers for people to enjoy going up and down of prominent people in Frankfort is another way that we could read our history going down, even maybe sponsoring a couple of areas where we could sit, maybe possibly a sitting area, like a little seating area or something where people can just sit and read, or it could be in the honor of someone. So I think that maybe when this is all done, that we can maybe discuss that as a commission on how we could incorporate the community to help make some of those decisions. I know that I did have an idea for one of the markers to be at the top of the hill toward the Kentucky State side, due to that Exum gym is there, and in the below there was a gymnastics room there, and I used to do gymnastics in the bottom of that gym, and I was part of a group called Gymkhana. And I was hoping that the first marker that we could put up at the top of that hill would be in honor of Dr. Cockley, who was a professor there, physical education professor, and in the Exum gym, took care of Exum with also Mr. Graham. So if we can honor both of those two, Mr. Cockley, whom passed away tragically last year, I would love to honor my professor, someone who gave so much to the community and so many things to the African-American students at Kentucky State. Down in the lower part of that Gymkhana area, I would love to start that off with him, and also maybe Mr. Graham, who's over that area for so many years. So maybe that's something we can discuss later on, but that's some of the ideas that I sort of had that I'm hoping that we can incorporate with the community and fellow commissioners and mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Waters. Good ideas. And I'm excited about this too. I can't wait to see this trail completed. Okay. With no further discussion on that, we'll move on to action item number 14. Discussion of the virtual meeting status, and when are we going to be meeting in person again?
Mayor, I asked for this to be put on the agenda because, you know, I've had several conversations with community members, and there's other communities that are also starting to implement meetings. I did not get to attend the town hall meeting this past weekend at Frankfort High, but I was told that it went very pleasantly, that there was plenty of room for people to have at that particular meeting. So I think it could be something that we could have in person. However, if people feel uncomfortable, I think there should be an avenue for our community to be able to voice their opinions about things that they would like us to know, or us to take in consideration that is not on the agenda. The agenda is already geared where everything we want isn't always put on the agenda, just because of the process and because of the emergency orders. And this way, it will at least allow the community, since the commissioners don't have full capacity to do that, to allow the community members a 5-minute increment time to be able to bring up something that will allow us commissioners as well as mayor to be able to know what their issues are, concerns, or things that they would like us to start taking in consideration to start putting on the agenda to hold us accountable for our positions. So that's why I wanted to be put on there, so we could see what the other commissioners thought and be able to move forward in some way. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
Commissioner Waldridge, would you be at all interested in some form of a hybrid model where some people met in person, others, including staff and others that didn't want to be in a crowded room, were able to still operate from a remote spot and be able to participate in the meetings in that way?
Oh, definitely. I don't think that us moving to this particular, it's more about getting the comment. So if we did stay virtual, we would just have a moment that would be where the comments are, instead of just making the comments relevant to what's on the agenda. We could open that up for, you know, more comments that things are not on the agenda for us to be made aware of. But I'm completely okay with a hybrid model for us to start meeting in person, and for us to continue this, because with COVID, we do have those people that are at high risk that should not come out to our meetings. And we definitely want to keep them abreast of what's going on, to making sure Channel 10, as well as Cable 10, as well as our Facebook is still live. So yes, I would completely agree with that, definitely.
Okay.
I have a question on, and I do think that obviously being in person is better for, it's better to be face to face when people do have comments. They want to see us in person. And I, last year we all campaigned in a virtual world basically, and a lot of people haven't even met us because of that. But I do have a question for Mrs. Ross. So on the citizen right now, since we are in an emergency declaration, on can we comment? Can we take citizen comments on items that are not on the agenda?
Right now, we choose to notice all of our meetings as special meetings, which means that the citizen comments have to be limited to those items on the agenda. The only way to be able to open up the floor to citizen comments on other items would be to stop the special meeting format of our meetings, notice them as we're required to do when we do any sort of virtual meeting under AG rules that came out due to COVID, but then open up the entire meeting to a regular meeting format where you did not have to comply with the agenda.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion, any timeline, emergency management? When are we going to have herd immunity? Can you predict
Mr. May was going to say something, and then I'll make a comment after that, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to express, the interest in as soon as we can, I would love the opportunity to get back to face, and if the discussion is more about how we open it up to engage the community more, I'm all about that. I personally will be following all CDC guidelines and any recommendations as far as how we meet and convene in a room. And I just think it's really important, obviously, as an elected official, to follow those. So I will be expressing interest in continuing my participation virtually until, the recommendation of, the medical community and science community and CDC guidelines and experts say it's safe to reconvene in that capacity. But I'm all for exploring opportunities to allow citizens that may not have, as easy of an access to, digital communication to where they can participate in their governmental process as much as possible. So definitely appreciate the discussion on that end, and we'll be open for that. Absolutely. But I do think it's important that we just maintain whatever the guidelines are at the time to keep our community safe.
Thank you. Commissioner Waters.
Commissioner Unger had her hand up before me earlier. Did you have a comment or? Okay.
I was just gonna ask interim city manager what he thought about herd immunity, and then Lane said the same thing. So, sorry, the mayor.
Okay, no, that's okay. I thought I saw your hand go up, so sometimes to catch everyone. I just wanted to add that, Commissioner May, I completely understand your concern, but I sort of think that, I think that us holding, having both sort of like a hyper model, as Commissioner Thompson had stated, would be safe. I would think that, even just like going into Bourbon on Main, your restaurant, you're around people. It would just be the same thing within an open meeting. Technically, we would just put a stop on it on how many people could come in and sit and listen to the meeting. And then how many people could come in, and speak, and then maybe possibly leave the meeting if we were to be spread out. So it would almost be like sitting in your restaurant, just spread out as you would do in Bourbon on Main, that would follow those same guidelines. I would think. I don't know. I wasn't aware that the meeting for government meetings were different, and maybe I'm wrong on how many people could be in a government meeting versus a restaurant or a store. You may be able to clarify that, but I would think that depending on the capacity of the room that we met, then that would put that would then do our number on whether or not we would be safe in meeting those guidelines, depending on the space.
Thank you. I'm not aware of any guidelines on government meetings either, but staff maybe help us out on that for the next one. But I do think that, I don't know what our date is on that. I'd be happy to look at doing a hybrid model, and it's kind of what we would do anyway. We're broadcast on Facebook. People can watch virtually. It's just the comments and being able to, and as we saw tonight, we had a lot of virtual comments tonight, so people do have the ability to contribute. Yes, Commissioner Waters.
The main focus is, yes, we would like to get back to in person and we want that to be safe. But the main thing is giving the opportunity for our residents to be able to speak and bring concerns that are not on our agenda, to bring them to us so we are aware, we can start doing research on them and start trying to move forward on some of those things that our community are now getting overlooked because of the COVID. And so that's the main thing, of being able to hear their voices, not just on the things that we choose or validate that are important to move forward, but some of the things that they want to discuss for us to bring forward. So that's the main thing.
Got it. And I hope everyone out there knows that they can reach out to us in between meetings. And I know I get my fair share of emails and calls, so feel free to reach out. We'll definitely consider putting something on the agenda. Mr. Russell.
Okay, so just to keep everybody safe, everybody knows that there are variant strains of this disease that are out there now that spread more rapidly. It is a huge concern, although data has shown that a lot of the dosing that we're doing now does protect against those. The UK strain showed up in December of 2020. The South African strain showed up in January of 21, and the Brazilian strain showed up again in January of 2021. To date, Franklin County Public Health has dosed about almost 5,000 people, 4,831. So that's roughly 10% of the population here in Franklin County. Herd immunity is roughly 70% of the population dosed, with the regional center opening, and they will run tomorrow and Wednesday. They are going to try to dose 1,000 people a day. So that will increase the odds. That regional center is, we were taxed with keeping that up for 6 months. So if you count out 6 months from February, March, April, May, that's July. So I think I have planned with staff that we should get back to some place close to normal, barring some unforeseen circumstance, Mayor. We're kind of pointing towards June as a move forward month. And obviously the lower the numbers go and the more that the governor reduces his mandates, then we'll follow suit also. I think the biggest concern is equity among the people that can get to the meeting. Some people don't have the technology. Some people have to walk in. So providing some type of a hybrid model will take considerable. We'll have to think about that quite a bit, to be honest with you. I am not opposed to that at all. If we're still maintaining social distance, that's about 36 square feet per person. So when we go into the conference room, we'll have to figure, we've got those numbers and we can figure that out. But still right now, until we get to a larger portion of this population that has been dosed, another couple of months to see where we stand. I think right now we're on the safest path possible.
Commissioner Thompson, thank you.
Mayor, we lost Commissioner May at some point just now. I don't know what happened to him.
I don't either.
Just a quick comment. I do know that the information that I have read today states that since January 2nd, there has been a 77% decrease in total infections. That there is a daily reduction and that the overall infection rate is going down nationally in states that have high lockdown restrictions and states that don't. So it's kind of nationwide. So, one of the ideas is that herd immunity may come a little quicker because more people were actually infected with this than we once believed because of asymptomatic viral load that we had. So I do think it's important that once we get to 1C and the other vaccine levels to get as many people vaccinated as possible. If we're only looking at 9 or 10% of the total people right now, you're looking at a couple months before we get significant numbers of folks to have gotten the vaccine. So I would agree that it probably looks like we're looking at somewhere in the beginning of summer before we get back to some sort of normalcy. But I think all that, there's a lot of dependence on that, and that could that could due to when the vaccines roll out to Frankfort and when we start seeing these sites really pumping out a lot of numbers, and that's just going to be something we're going to have to hope works out very well.
I agree, Commissioner Thompson. The optimistic person in me hopes for May. I know Johnson & Johnson's getting ready to roll out a single dose, and I got an email today that was asking how best we thought we could utilize those doses. And single doses are way easier. I see Commissioner May back, are way easier to administer because we don't have to track the second dose and come back in 28 days. So we're actually working on that now and presenting cases and how we think we could best serve the community. Like I say, the optimistic part of me would be May, but I think the realistic part of me is probably June.
Right. Any other discussion on this? All right, Mr. Russell.
Mayor, would you all like us to work on some type of a hybrid model to push forward in a month or something like that? We can get this worked out to see what we think will work and what we think won't work.
I think that sounds great. I'm sure there's another community out there that's working something similar. If we can find one and copy the best way, we'll copy what someone else is doing. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that idea too.
And it could continue on, really. I don't know why it couldn't. Okay, good discussion. All right. Next item is moving into executive session.
Mayor, I make the motion that we move into executive session per KRS 61.8101C litigation, potential litigation regarding past personnel actions.
We have a motion.
Second that.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, no opposed? Okay, we'll move into executive session.
You are back in open session.
Thank you. And we're back in open session. And first and foremost, before we adjourn, we would like to thank our EMS, our fire, our police, and all of our city staff, including streets, public works, sanitation, everyone who has helped out in the last few days, last week to, as we dealt with the winter storm. And we couldn't have done it without you all. Thank you all on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. So thanks. And
We're moved to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 No opposed? We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Aye. Thanks, guys.